Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to make a quick and fairly easy card for my father-in-law. His birthday is actually today. We are celebrating it this weekend, and I'm going to make him a birthday card. So I got some inspiration off of a previous video from Simon Says Stamp. They did some designs similar to this a long time ago, and I'm going to use this Lawn Fawn stamp set. It's called Into the Woods. I'm using some sentiment strip dies and some scrap green cardstock. Green is his favorite color. I'm using some Altenew artist markers and a Spectrum Noir tri-blend marker. And then I have a card base that I made from craft cardstock I had in my stash. That actually happens to be from Hobby Lobby. And then I'm going to use one of two sentiments. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use yet. So the artist markers I have here are Sand Dunes, Mocha, Espresso, and I'm trying to remember the other one. I can't remember the other one. And then the tri-blend, woo, speaking's hard, y'all. Tri-blend pale pink marker. I haven't decided exactly which one of these sentiments I'm going to use. If I'm going to use this Birthday Wishes from a stamp set I got at Hobby Lobby. It's not even labeled. Or if I'm going to use this one from Simon Says Stamp. I haven't decided yet. It kind of depends on how things come together. So I am going to do a somewhat basket weave. It takes me way longer than it should, y'all. So I did edit some of this out because it takes me way longer than it should. But I'm going to think smarter, not harder, and I'm going to use the fancy magnetic feature of my board and kind of pin this card base down, because I am gluing everything to the card base. I'm not using a panel of any variety, but I'm going to just kind of plan out where I want these strips to go. And I used a T-square ruler that I got off of Amazon. This is from Westcott. It's clear, which is very helpful. Simon Says Stamp has one that's long, and then they also have like a short one for card makers. So if you don't have one in your stash and you're looking for one, either this one from Westcott, which I got off of Amazon, which is pretty inexpensive, or one from Simon Says Stamp, their little T-square ruler would work just fine. You could even use the grid marks on your, like, I could use it on my glass board, or if you have something else that has grid marks, a cutting mat or something, you could use that to help you line these things up. But it was just easier for me to use this T-square ruler. So I am going to put some adhesive, some like tape runner adhesive on the back of each of these strips. And I'm not going to push down because I'm not exactly sure where I want these things to go, and they won't adhere firmly until you press them down firmly. So I'm just going to lightly tack them down, kind of just push them in the middle, but nowhere else, just until I'm sure that that's where I want these things to go. Now, the sentiment strip banner die that I used is not long enough to go across this whole card panel. I could have used my paper trimmer and cut something out. This was just faster for me, and I wanted to use these dies for another purpose besides an actual sentiment strip. So the two going vertical, I actually had to cut them down because I didn't want the two horizontal ones to not go completely across the card, but the two vertical ones to go to span the entire length of the card. That just looked weird to me. So I ended up kind of eyeballing where to trim these so that they would have about the same margin top to bottom as the horizontal ones have left to right, if that makes any sense. And here I'm trying to make sure that everything is straight. And I actually put that too far to the right to begin with, and I am going to go back and like scoot that over. This took me an inordinate amount of time. I am not a weaver of any capacity, and it shows. So anyways, I'm eventually going to kind of pick that up and move it over to the left so that I can make more room for the one on the right. Now we're going to get into the coloring of this little deer. Now, in full disclosure, I am not a colorist by any means. I find coloring outside of like stencils very difficult, and it's not necessarily something that I really enjoy. But here I'm just adding darker marker to where I think it'll be the darkest, lightest to where I think it'll be the lightest. I added a little blush to the cheeks and to the ear, and then I went back in and I felt like I'd lost a lot of the dark spots, and so I went back in and added a little bit more to the dark spots. I am going to come in with a black glaze pen. This just adds like a shiny finish to the eye. It makes it stand out a little better. And then it's always bothered me, but on these stamps, it's a fawn, and fawns have white spots, not black spots. So I'm going in with a white gel pen and just adding in some white spots. I end up lightening those up again later. So there's the deer all colored and finished. So now I'm trying to figure out which sentiment fits best in that spot right there. This one looks good, but I also like the other one. And I feel like the styling of this typography works better with the deer. It may be just me. If you think the other one would have looked better, then pop that in the comment section below and say, hey, the other one would have looked fine too. But anyway, they both would have looked fine. I just decided to go with the other one from Simon Says Stamp. And I was going to free range stamp this, but I decided I better not do that. So I'm going to actually put that in my mini Misty and stamp it there. So here I have the stamp placed in my mini Misty. I've actually taped it closed. It just kept popping up and I couldn't get the magnet to hold it down right. So I ended up just taping it closed. I'm using the grid lines on that mini Misty to make sure that it's somewhat straight. And then I'm going to stamp that down. I end up stamping it 3 times in VersaFine Onyx black ink, just so that I could get a really deep, dark impression. So here I've stamped it twice, and I'm stamping it that 3rd time, like I said, just because I wanted a really deep, dark impression on this card. I felt like that looked the best. So here I'm using my little Stampin' Bug that I got from Stampin' Bug off of Etsy. That just helps kind of take some pressure off my hand. Here I'm taking a stamp that I received from Altenew. When you purchase things through them periodically at the end of the year, they'll send you like a custom stamp with your name on it. And this is one of those, and I usually put that on the back of cards I make for family. It just says with love and then my name. Here I'm going to take some titanium nonstick scissors, and I'm going to take this foam tape that I purchased from Dollar Tree actually. It's pretty thick and it's pretty darn sticky, so it's a really good bang for your buck, but it is thicker like width-wise, height-wise, and so if you don't want something with that much dimension, then this is not the choice for you. But what I'm doing is I'm taking it and I'm cutting it in half long ways, and it looks pretty rough, but it'll get the job done. And then I'm going to use that to add dimension to the back of this little deer and pop him up. I do have the coordinating die, and if I would have been thinking and willing to get my little die cut machine out, again, I would have just used the coordinating die to add the dimension, but this was easier and on hand at the time. So all I'm doing is adding this foam tape to the back of this little deer, and then I will take the release paper off and stick it onto the card. So I'm just going to stick him right where I think he should go, and then that will finish off this card. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something. I hope you were inspired. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the comments below. And until then, we will catch you next time.